The bitter November wind cut through my thin coat, but I barely noticed. My heart felt too heavy with grief to register anything else. Mom, my rock, my guiding light, the woman who built a medical equipment company from nothing, was gone after 3 brutal years of cancer. The Reverend's words faded into background noise as I watched her casket descend into the frozen ground. I'd spent countless nights at her bedside as both daughter and nurse, and now this was our final goodbye. Beside me stood Brooke, my stepsister, scrolling through her phone even during these sacred moments. Unlike the rest of us, she wasn't crying. Her perfectly made-up face betrayed nothing but impatience, her jaw tense as she waited for this inconvenience to end. The ceremony had barely concluded when Brooke grabbed my arm, her acrylic nails digging into my skin. "Aaron, we need to talk right now," she demanded, her voice dripping with entitlement. "Not here, Brooke," I whispered, nodding toward the mourners gathering around us. My colleagues from the ICU had come to support me, and this wasn't the place. But Brooke didn't care. She never did. "I want my share of the inheritance. Now." Her eyes darted to my purse, as if expecting me to write her a check on the spot. My stomach knotted as I faced her. Mom had left me everything, the suburban home, her savings, and the entire estate worth $3.5 million. Not because she loved me more, but because she knew Brooke would squander it all on her influencer lifestyle, just as she'd blown through her father's money after he abandoned her. "This isn't appropriate right now," I said firmly, my nursing training helping me maintain composure. Brooke rolled her eyes dramatically. "Cut the professional act, Aaron. I know everything's going to you, but we're family. That money is just sitting there while my followers think I'm living the dream. I deserve my cut." Mom made her decision, Brooke. Not me. Her perfectly contoured face twisted with rage. "You think you deserve it all. You were always the golden child in her eyes, weren't you? The perfect daughter with her nursing degree and responsible life." The accusation stung, but I didn't flinch. This isn't about favorites. It's about responsibility. Mom knew. Mom knew what? She sneered, loud enough for nearby mourners to turn their heads. That I needed it more? That you'd hoard it while my rent is overdue and my followers expect luxury content? I held my ground. "You don't struggle, Brooke. You waste on designer clothes for social media while ignoring Mom's treatments." Her face flushed scarlet beneath her foundation. "You'll regret this," she hissed before storming off to where her equally irresponsible husband waited in their least luxury car. I watched her go, Mom's final warning echoing in my mind, "Don't give her control of money, Aaron. She'll destroy herself with it." I couldn't even grieve properly before the vultures came circling. 2 weeks later, I finally allowed myself to breathe. The funeral was behind me, and I'd handled everything Mom requested, settling her affairs, securing the house, and trying to move forward. I booked a quick getaway to Barcelona, where Mom and I had vacationed during her brief remission. I needed space to process my grief away from medical charts and condolence cards. The first few days were healing. I wandered the Gothic quarter, sipped sangria by the Mediterranean, and let myself feel the loss without interruption. Then, on my 4th morning, my phone buzzed. I expected a text from my hospital colleague covering my shifts. Instead, Brooke's name lit up my screen, and my stomach clenched. I hesitated before opening it, dread flooding through me. The message read, "Just moved into my new home with Ryan. Already changed the locks and reset the security system. Check out my house tour on social media. #blessed #new beginnings." I stared in disbelief, then burst into startled laughter in the quiet cafe. My stepsister had just publicly documented her breaking and entering. She'd even tagged the property in her social media posts, showing off her inheritance to her followers. For a moment, I sat motionless, absorbing the sheer audacity. She genuinely believed she could occupy Mom's house, change the locks, and claim it as her own? Did she think social media posts somehow transferred legal ownership? I took a measured sip of my coffee, my nurse's training keeping me composed. This was classic Brooke, impulsive, entitled, living in a fantasy where consequences didn't apply to her. I typed back, "Interesting content strategy. Hope you kept the receipts for those new locks." I felt oddly calm as I paid my bill and booked the first flight home. Brooke had just made the biggest mistake of her influencer career, and her followers were about to witness the fallout. Back in the States, I went straight from the airport to my apartment, exhausted but focused. My first call was to Mom's attorney. "Aaron," Patricia Monroe answered, her voice both warm and professional. "I was expecting your call about Brooke's little social media stunt." "You've seen it then?" I sighed, dropping my suitcase. "Everyone has. We received security alerts 3 days ago. I was waiting for your return before proceeding. No surprise there. Mom, the meticulous businesswoman, had everything legally secured. Her will was airtight, the house firmly in my name, the security system monitored by her legal team. Brooke thought she'd claimed her prize, but she'd only documented her crime. I need this handled efficiently, I said, pacing my kitchen. No drawn-out drama. Just swift resolution. Patricia considered briefly. 2 options, immediate charges for trespassing and property theft, or give her a chance to leave before legal consequences. I knew Brooke wouldn't leave willingly, but letting her believe she had choices would make reality hit harder. Let her build her social media fantasy a bit longer, I told Patricia. We'll see how many followers she loses when reality hits. That evening, I drove to Mom's suburban house, my house now. Instead of knocking, I tried the door handle. Locked, as expected. I pressed the doorbell. No response. I tried again. Still nothing. I couldn't help smiling. Brooke was literally hiding inside, pretending this was working. I pulled out my phone and called her. I could hear her custom ringtone, Ariana Grande, blaring through an open window. Finally, she answered. What do you want, Aaron? Her voice dripped with annoyance. I leaned against the door frame. For starters, I'd like access to my property. Brooke scoffed loudly. Your property? You mean our mother's house? Brooke, I hate to interrupt your influencer house tour series, but this home, the one you're illegally occupying and posting about, is legally mine. You're trespassing. As if, she snapped. Mom wouldn't cut me out like that. Mom didn't cut you out, I countered, my nursing calm intact despite my racing heart. Your actions did. You blew through Dad's money after he left. You ignored Mom during her cancer treatments while I administered her meds. Now you're staging social media photos in a house that isn't yours. Her voice turned venomous. You don't deserve any of this. That's not for you to decide, I said evenly. I'm giving you one chance to leave voluntarily before I involve the authorities. Silence. Then a mocking laugh. Really? What are you going to do, Miss Perfect? Call the police on family. Your followers would love that drama. I smiled to myself. Want to test that theory? I woke early and made several calls. By noon, I was parked outside the house again, but this time with company. A locksmith van pulled alongside me. Ms. Coleman? The technician asked. That's me, I confirmed, showing my ID. He nodded, reviewing his paperwork. Got your proof of ownership and the security system override codes right here. We'll reset everything. The locksmith team worked efficiently while I waited, arms crossed, watching the door. Minutes later, Brooke flung it open, her husband Ryan hovering anxiously behind her. What the hell do you think you're doing? She shrieked, phone already recording. I smiled calmly. Changing the locks and resetting the security system. You know, since you tampered with them without authorization. Her face flushed beneath her contoured makeup. You can't just. Actually, I can, I interrupted. I own this property, Brooke. You don't. I gave you a chance to leave peacefully, and you chose differently. So now you don't have options. I nodded to the locksmith. If there's any interference, please call the police. Brooke's eyes widened momentarily before narrowing. This isn't over, she hissed. It is over, I replied. Though if you'd like to continue, I have a folder of your trespassing posts ready for the authorities. The locksmith handed me the new keys and security fob. All set, Ms. Coleman. Brooke and Ryan gathered their essentials, her perfect image crumbling as she stormed to their car. I watched until they drove away, then stepped inside and secured the door. My house. My rules. Brooke had crafted her narrative. Now I would write the ending. I settled into Mom's leather reading chair, watching security footage on my phone. The house was secure again, but I knew Brooke wouldn't surrender easily. Her stubbornness wasn't just pride, it was genuine desperation. I understood exactly why. Mom's will had been explicit. The property, savings, and estate, everything transferred to me. Not because I was her favorite, but because I would protect these assets rather than squander them. Brooke had already proven she couldn't be trusted. Though she'd always been image-obsessed, things worsened when her father abandoned their family. She was 16 when Mom married her dad, and just 18 when he left them both, moving overseas with his secretary. Before disappearing, he gave Brooke $200,000 from her grandmother's estate, meant to fund her education and provide security. Instead, she used it to launch her influencer persona. Designer clothes, cosmetic procedures, lavish vacations, all meticulously documented online. When funds dwindled, she turned to sponsorships promoting questionable products. Within 18 months, the money vanished, leaving only credit card debt. Mom tried everything to help her. Financial counseling, therapy, even offering to back a legitimate business. Brooke would seem committed briefly, then revert to extravagant spending to maintain her online facade. The final straw came when she borrowed Mom's credit card during her cancer treatments, $15,000 in unauthorized charges while Mom was undergoing chemotherapy. That night, Mom made her decision. I can't enable her anymore, Aaron, she told me, her voice weakened by radiation therapy. When I'm gone, if she controls these assets, she'll destroy her self-maintaining appearances. I need to protect her, even from herself. That's why the will specified everything would come to me. Brooke wasn't disinherited out of cruelty, but compassion. Instead of recognizing this wake-up call, she was following her usual pattern, taking what wasn't hers and pretending it was. The next morning, I met with Patricia. She greeted me with a concerned smile. I assume Brooke remains problematic? She asked. I laughed without humor. Understatement. She broke in, changed locks, and posted a house tour claiming it's her inheritance. Patricia nodded grimly. I anticipated something like this. Your mother's will is uncontestable, but Brooke has always lived in her own reality. She won't stop. What options do I have? You've handled things correctly so far, Patricia assured me. Legally, the property is yours exclusively. If she attempts anything further, we can pursue criminal charges. I hesitated. And the estate funds? The $3.5 million. Completely protected in the trust. She cannot access it through any legal means. That should have been comforting, but I knew my stepsister. When desperate to maintain appearances, legality meant nothing. Sleep eluded me completely. I kept my phone beside my pillow, monitoring security alerts, tension building in my chest. At 3:12 a.m., my screen lit up, motion detected, front entrance. My heart hammered as I opened the app. There was Brooke in dark clothing, carrying a designer backpack that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. What made my stomach clench, she wasn't alone. A man I didn't recognize stood beside her, pointing at something near the door frame. My nursing instincts kicked in, heart rate elevated but mind clear. This wasn't a drunken mistake or impromptu photo shoot. This was calculated breaking and entering. With steady hands, I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? My stepsister is attempting to break into my house, I explained, my voice professional like when I call time of death. She's with an unknown male. I have security footage showing them tampering with the door. They're at the entrance right now. The dispatcher responded calmly. Are you inside the residence? No, I'm at my apartment. The property is secured. Officers are en route. Please stay on the line. I exhaled slowly, using the breathing techniques I teach anxious patients. Brooke had crossed from social media drama to criminal behavior, and consequences were coming. Within minutes, police lights illuminated the street on my security feed. I watched officers approach, their commands clear and authoritative. Stop. Hands where we can see them. Brooke froze, her confident expression crumbling into panic. Her companion bolted into the darkness, but she remained paralyzed. 2 officers secured her, pressing her against their vehicle and applying handcuffs. I arrived just as they were escorting her to the patrol car. When our eyes met, hers blazed with fury beneath smudged mascara. You called the cops on family. She hissed. I maintained my composure. You broke into my house after being warned. What did you expect? An officer turned to me. Do you want to press charges, ma'am? Brooke's social media confidence vanished. I saw reality hitting her, the trembling lip, the fear replacing entitlement. She genuinely believed I wouldn't follow through. She was wrong. Yes, I confirmed, meeting her gaze directly. I am pressing charges. The color drained from her face as they placed her in the back seat. The door closed with finality, and her social media perfect life imploded. Yet as I watched the patrol car drive away, I knew this family fracture wasn't fully resolved. I sat at my apartment's breakfast nook, nursing a cold coffee while reviewing patient charts. My mind kept returning to last night's events. Brooke was in county lockup for breaking into Mom's house, trying to seize something that was never legally hers. I should have felt vindicated. After all, she'd brought this on herself with her entitled behavior. Instead, I felt only bone-deep exhaustion. Despite her narcissism and disrespect during Mom's illness, one fact remained: she was family. Mom had tried to protect her, and now that responsibility had fallen to me. My phone rang mid-afternoon. Inmate call from County Detention Center. Aaron, Brooke's voice came through, stripped of its usual confidence. Satisfied with yourself? I pressed my fingers against my temple, feeling a migraine forming. Brooke, you broke into my house with an accomplice. Mom's house, she snapped. I kept my voice level, using the same tone I use with difficult patients. Mom's house that she legally left to me in her will. The same will her lawyer reviewed with both of us. She laughed bitterly. Right. The will where she cut me out completely like I meant nothing to her. She didn't cut you out to punish you. She was protecting you from yourself. Silence. Then, seriously? That's how you see me? Some charity case? The screwed-up stepsister who can't handle money? I hesitated, hearing something beneath her anger, genuine hurt. You stole her credit card during chemo, Brooke, I said quietly. You promoted questionable products to your followers when she tried to help you start a legitimate business. What was she supposed to do? I heard her uneven breathing, like she was fighting tears. I just wanted something that was actually mine, she finally whispered. Her vulnerability caught me off guard. Beneath the perfect makeup and designer clothes was a wounded young woman abandoned by her father, constantly seeking validation from strangers online. You need real help, Brooke. Not social media followers. I don't need your pity, she muttered, but her voice lacked conviction. It's not pity, I replied, my medical training evident in my steady tone. It's me, your sister, telling you I don't want to watch you self-destruct. She didn't respond, but the call remained connected. The following morning, I met with Patricia again. You're considering dropping the charges? She asked, eyebrow raised. I massaged my temples. I don't know. Seeing her booked on the news won't fix what's broken. Patricia studied me thoughtfully. Aaron, I respect your compassion, but ask yourself, is Brooke actually willing to change? I sighed deeply. I don't know. But I've watched enough patients spiral to recognize where this path leads. Patricia nodded. There's another approach. I looked up. What? Rehabilitation, she suggested. We could propose dropping charges if she commits to a comprehensive treatment program. Not just addiction counseling, but financial rehabilitation and therapy. It's imperfect, but it creates accountability while offering opportunity. I considered this, mind racing. Would Brooke accept this lifeline? Or would she see it as another attempt to control her narrative? That evening, I used my hospital ID to gain visiting access at the County Detention Center. Brooke sat across from me looking nothing like her social media persona, no filters, no strategic angles, just a tired woman in county-issued clothes. Her carefully maintained facade had crumbled, revealing something I rarely saw, vulnerability. I'm not here to lecture you, I said, breaking the silence. I'm here to offer you a choice. She laughed hollowly. A choice? How generous. I mean it, I replied, leaning forward. Option 1, I maintain the charges, and the legal system determines your consequences. Option 2. I paused, choosing my words carefully. You enter comprehensive rehabilitation. Her perfectly sculpted eyebrows knitted together. I don't need rehab, she said defensively. I'm not some addict. Then what do you need? I asked evenly. Another mugshot? More legal trouble? Another maxed-out credit card? Her jaw tightened. I need my family to stop treating me like I'm defective. My medical training couldn't completely mask my emotion. We only treat you that way because your behavior is destructive. She recoiled slightly, looking away. I pulled a brochure from my bag and slid it across the table. This program addresses financial dependence, compulsive behaviors, and healing from parental abandonment. Your choice, Brooke. But understand this, I'm not punishing you or cutting you off. I want to help, but I can't if you won't help yourself. She stared at the brochure, perfectly manicured nails now chipped and broken. After a long moment, she picked it up. Back at Mom's house, I sat in her reading chair, looking at the framed photo on the mantel, Brooke and me at Mom's second wedding, both smiling awkwardly in our bridesmaid dresses, just before Brooke's father left. I missed the possibility of what our relationship could have been. Before the resentment, before the competition for Mom's attention. And for the first time since Mom's diagnosis, I allowed myself to hope that maybe Brooke could find her way to authentic happiness. 3 days passed without word. I'd left her with a clear choice: face legal consequences or enter rehabilitation and begin rebuilding. Given her pride, I wasn't certain which path she'd choose. Part of me expected her to reject the offer completely. Admitting fault had never been Brooke's strength. Yet another part hoped this rock-bottom moment might catalyze real change. On the 4th day, my phone rang, unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello?" A long pause followed. Then came Brooke's voice, stripped of its usual affectation. "I'll do it." I waited, almost disbelieving. "You'll do what exactly?" She exhaled slowly. "The program. The rehab thing." Something tight in my chest finally relaxed, a tension I hadn't realized I was carrying. "That's a good decision, Brooke," I said quietly. "A really good start." "Don't get all sentimental about it," she muttered, but without her usual sharpness. I didn't push. After years of navigating difficult patient conversations, I knew emotional pressure now would only trigger her defenses. Instead, I simply said, "I'll handle the arrangements." That afternoon, I met with Patricia again in her downtown office. "You're certain about this course of action?" she asked, reviewing the legal documents. "Once we withdraw the charges with this stipulation, you can't reinstate them if she abandons the program. This is your only opportunity." I nodded firmly. "I understand the risks." She studied me carefully before nodding. "Very well. I'll file the necessary paperwork to dismiss charges contingent upon her successful completion of the rehabilitation program." With that signature, the decision was made. Brooke had been offered a lifeline. Whether she'd grasp it remained to be seen. The following week, I drove Brooke to the rehabilitation center myself. She remained silent for most of the journey, staring out the window, nervously checking her phone before remembering it would be confiscated upon arrival. Her anxiety was palpable, though her pride would never let her acknowledge it. "This doesn't look like a rehab center," she remarked as we approached the facility, a modern complex nestled among manicured gardens and walking paths. "It's one of the region's best programs," I explained. "They address financial dependency, social media addiction, and emotional healing. They'll help develop a sustainable plan for your future." Brooke rolled her eyes. "A plan? Whatever." I parked and turned toward her. "This is your chance, Brooke. Your opportunity to build something real, not just social media worthy." She didn't reply, just stared at the entrance as though facing execution rather than healing. Finally, she sighed. "What if I don't know who I am without the followers and filters, Aaron?" Her rare moment of honesty caught me off guard. I thought of the countless patients I'd guided through difficult transitions. Then perhaps it's time to discover that person. For the first time since our parents' wedding, she looked at me without hostility, just uncertainty and something resembling vulnerability. Without another word, she gathered her single approved bag and stepped out. I watched her walk toward the intake area, my clinical composure momentarily slipping. Would she commit to the process? Would she flee at the first opportunity? Would this intervention succeed where others had failed? I couldn't know. But for once, the choice was entirely hers. 3 months later, I was reviewing patient charts in my kitchen when my phone lit up. "Brooke, can we talk sometime?" I stared at those 5 words before responding, "Of course. Call whenever you're ready." I had no idea what to expect. Had the program worked? But for the first time since Mom's diagnosis, I felt something unfamiliar, genuine hope. I sat on Mom's porch swing that afternoon, spring breeze carrying the scent of new growth, clutching my phone. 2 hours had passed since Brooke's text, yet no call came. This didn't surprise me. 90 days of rehabilitation couldn't erase years of harmful patterns. But completing the program, something I never expected, was significant progress. An hour later, my phone rang. Taking a centered breath like I taught my anxious patients, I answered. "Hi." Silence stretched between us, then a soft exhale. "Hi." I waited patiently, my clinical training reminding me not to fill uncomfortable silences. "I finished the program yesterday," she finally said. Her voice lacked its usual performative quality, quieter, more authentic. "How are you feeling?" I asked, professional concern balanced with personal care. A small, genuine laugh, nothing like her practiced social media giggle. Like I've been in digital detox prison. I smiled slightly but maintained focus. "Was it worthwhile?" Another pause. Then, quietly, "Yes. I think it actually was. The tension I'd carried for months eased slightly. I wanted to. She hesitated. Thank you. For not completely giving up on me. My throat tightened unexpectedly. I came very close, Brooke. I know, she replied with surprising rawness. You had every right to. I was horrible during Mom's illness. I deserved worse. I remained silent, because in some ways, she was right. The recognition itself, however, suggested real change. I'm working on it, she added softly. I don't know if I'll ever be normal, but I want to try being real. For the first time since our parents married, I genuinely believed her. We met at a quiet cafe near the hospital. Brooke looked transformed, not just physically, with less makeup and simpler clothes, but something fundamental had shifted. Her eyes showed clarity I'd never seen before. She stirred her tea absently before meeting my gaze. What happens now? I considered carefully. That's primarily your decision. She nodded, accepting the responsibility. I need stable income. Something real. This opened the door to the offer I'd been contemplating. I might have something, I said. Brooke looked up, surprised. Really? I leaned forward. Mom's house. It's legally mine, but it's too large for just me. It needs renovations. If you're committed to this new direction, I'll hire you to help restore it. Fair wages, temporary housing while you stabilize. Her expression grew guarded. You'd trust me with that? I met her gaze directly. Not entirely, no. Honesty was our only viable foundation. But I trust that you want to change, I continued, and I believe Mom would have wanted you to earn your way, not take, not demand, but genuinely earn. Brooke studied me for what felt like minutes before slowly nodding. Okay. It wasn't a grand reconciliation or flowery promise. It was something more valuable, a beginning. Through spring and summer, Brooke remained committed. We worked together transforming the house, converting part of it into a respite space for healthcare workers. Initially, we barely interacted beyond necessary communication, painting rooms, replacing fixtures, sorting through Mom's belongings. Gradually, conversations deepened, about Mom, our childhoods, shared losses and possibilities. One evening on the back deck, watching fireflies emerge at dusk, Brooke spoke softly. I miss her, she admitted. I hate that I wasted her final years on fake internet validation. I looked at my stepsister, really looked at her. Then honor her memory differently now. She nodded, both of us understanding the road ahead remained long. Healing wasn't immediate. Trust wouldn't be instantly restored. But we were attempting something authentic. For this moment, that was enough.